Joker loses shot at tennis history as Australia deports star. I'm going to read two of the stories about this guy. And can you pull up some of the tweets in regards to Joker? So Novak Djokovic, anti-vaccination stance has cost him a potential payday of $2.1 million and a shot at tennis history after the play lost his battle to remain in Australia and was deported. The Serbian boarded a flight from Melbourne airport late Sunday night after the nation's federal court upheld the decision to revoke his entry permit over fears his presence would strengthen anti-vaccination sentiment. It wasn't up to the court to decide on the merits of the decision, only whether it was illogical or legally unreasonable. The player could face a 3-year ban from entering Australia, but the prohibition may be waived if there's under compelling circumstances, okay? So this whole situation of him, what people don't realize is, I think this would have made him the greatest of all time by winning. Can you see who has the most majors in tennis?
I think they're all tied.
They're all tied at 22, right?
Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal.
Yeah, and if he wins,
he would have been number one.
He almost won one like 2-3 months ago. Like he won second place because the other guy beat him.
Right. By the way, that would be on top of his winning record against them individually. He has a winning record against Federer individually. He has a winning record against Nadal individually. So if he also has the most majors, then the argument starts to go in his favor that he's the GOAT. Yeah.
And you're a tennis player, so you would know this stuff. You follow this stuff. There you go. So 2020. Total 6 Wimbledon, 8 for Federer. Okay, so that's that part. Now, go to what some people have to say about this, and I want to get our panel here to see what their thoughts are. So, who's this? Law Girl? Who is this person? Do we know who this person is, or is it just a user? Okay. Djokovic cannot visit Australia for 3 years. We are the only country that thinks it's okay to lock out the #1 tennis player on the brink of being the best in the world, not because he's a health risk, but because he might make the 90% of its citizens already vaxxed not get a booster. So go to the next tweet. Let's read a few of these guys. Make it bigger. Okay, Joker is great tennis player. Is a great tennis. Mia Farrow is a great tennis player, but he lied, and worse, he knowingly exposed people to COVID. Had it with him and every other arrogant, entitled person. They're all dangerous in one way or another. There you go. Next one is Piers Morgan. Breaking COVID rule cheat, immigration from liar, and anti-vaxxer icon Novak Djokovic loses final appeal against deportation and will be thrown out of Australia without being able to compete in Aussie Open.
Look at that picture.
Yeah, Melbourne right above him. And go to the next one there. Ben, who's this from? Ben Dominish. I feel like Australia underestimates how this Novak Djokovic incident's grown to tar the entire nation as fundamentally anti-freedom and a place you should not visit for a long time to come. As a tennis player yourself, what do you think about this story?
I think at this point, Djokovic is a champion not just of tennis but of freedom. I mean, he is pushing for personal, individual freedom to be able to make your own decisions. The man is healthy. The man is currently healthy, and he's prohibited from staying in the country and from playing the tournament. Why? What is the reason for that? There's rules. Everybody has to follow the rules. But are the rules stupid or are they reasonable? If somebody's healthy, and if he gets the vax, he can still spread COVID, and people can still get it. Then why is he prohibited from playing just because he doesn't have it? It's his individual choice. The man's currently healthy. If he passes a COVID test and he's COVID-free when he walks into the stadium, why can't he play? That's my question. But, he was willing to put – I mean, look, if he wins this tournament, which he was actually fairly likely to win it, he's the best player in the world right now, and he's won the Australian Open how many times? 9 times maybe? I think it's his
right. Like
he's won it more than any other.
Like how Nadal has the French Open, he's got the Australia.
It's the one he's most likely to win. He'd win $3.5 million. The fact that he's taken this stance could potentially cost him his sponsorships. Lacoste is looking into whether or not they're going to continue to have a relationship with him.
Get out of here.
He makes $30 million a year on sponsorships. So that's his primary income, right, is his sponsor. So he put a lot at risk here to be able to stand by a conviction. I respect that. And I'm disappointed in other players who are piling onto him saying, he's selfish.
Any major players? Andy Murray?
Nadal's had comments.
Nadal's been the most
hard
outspoken.
on him. Yeah,
what did Nadal say?
He basically said the tournament's bigger than any one person. The focus needs to not be on him.
But he also said he knew the rules before he showed up.
He knew the rules. He should have followed the rules. We all had to follow the rules. He's not special. He's not an exception.
And I think 98
he
of
said
the
all
top
of that?
100 players are vaxxed in the Men's Tennis Association.
Yeah, well, they're making life easier for themselves, and you know, you have a choice to make. You have to pay. There's a sacrifice now, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it extremely costly to not go along with the program. And the question is, does the program even make sense?
Adam, what are your thoughts on this story?
Well, look, I think, and I've actually asked multiple friends of mine who play tennis and have actually played against Federer, these types of like legitimate people. And there's a couple different angles I'll go here. On the actual Australia, like he did lie and, mishandle this. And it was, I forgot to do this. And he did show up to a freaking photo shoot while having COVID. So he could have handled it better. I'll give you a different perspective. If you asked everyone in the world, everyone around here, who are the best tennis players, most people would say Federer. Okay? Most people would even say Nadal. I think Nadal and Federer specifically have such a grasp on who is the best tennis player because they're more likable and have a bigger persona and just their personality is more. Djokovic, I feel like he doesn't have as much of, and you're a tennis player, as much likability within the tennis world. Like we actually had, like he's tied as the greatest ever, tied. But nobody, I don't think, really understood that. So I feel like there's a part of him that even with COVID wants to get out there, win, become the great, become the GOAT, become the GOAT. But I don't know if he has the likability of
You ever seen his
Federer.
interviews? Have you ever seen him do interviews?
Not that, like I can tell you a lot about Federer's personality, Nadal, good looking, suave dude. I don't know much about Joker.
Let me
honestly
tell you, I've watched this guy's interviews, and to me, I look forward to his interviews. I look forward to his interviews.
Why is that?
It's because you can feel the level of intensity and commitment to his craft. And when he loses or makes a mistake, like one time he hit the ball, I don't know, he hit the person on the side, I don't know what it was, the situation, and how apologetic he was. He felt like crap in the interview afterwards. Like he was like, and it wasn't a big deal, but he was like, you could feel the sincerity. I don't know.
He got booted out of that tournament.
Yeah, I know he did. Yeah, I remember that. I know he did. And he said, I deserved it. Like, he didn't even come out and like, how Dak Prescott yesterday is like, I was the referee. They threw, whatever they threw stuff at the referee. This guy took responsibility for his actions. I think the fact that listen, if you got COVID, you're this big of a name. You can't go to a place and not tell people you got COVID.
Did he have COVID?
I mean, if he did.
He tested positive once.
I don't know the
these
story.
tests unreliable? He had no symptoms. He's got no symptoms at all.
He does have COVID. Now, having
he
said
should have tested
that,
again to make sure.
Yeah. By the way, here's the flip side of it. How many flights you think you're on, and people who are on flights have COVID? It could be the person sitting next to you. You don't think people get on flights that have COVID? Anyways, Gerard, your thoughts. We'll go to the next subject after your thoughts here. Tell us.
Bro, the most famous moment of Michael Jordan's career is when he had a highly contagious virus, and he had 103 freaking fever. And he went out and won Game 6.
the flu game. That's a great
It's
point.
the flu game.
Yeah.
This dude was highly contagious and was praised for fighting through it. How many people did the evil Michael Jordan
bring up a really good point.
expose to influenza?
It's a different time, though.
It's a different time where the wrong people have the microphone. We've got to tell these people to shut up. Anybody that from Australia that's allowing their government to do this, this is on you. I've never met anybody from Australia that was this type of person. Everybody from Australia I've met was a man's man, loved freedom, hardcore person. Same thing with Canada. Every Canadian I ever met was an awesome, hardworking, freedom-loving person. And you're letting these tyrants take over your country like this?
That's what I'm saying. The rules are stupid.
Come on, man.
The rules are stupid.
Dude, we're not allowed to say mass formation psychosis. We're not allowed to say it, right? But maybe we could say collective Munchausen syndrome. Everybody's a threat to everybody now. Everybody's sick. Everybody's a threat to your well-being. This is complete and total bullshit, dude. This is one of the healthiest human beings on earth. Literally, quantifiably, one of the most healthy human beings on earth. And you won't let him into your country because he's a threat to your physical well-being? What type of crazy bullshit world do we live in now?
Right.
This is outrageous.
Yeah, the only thing I would tell you is if you're in a time like this, at this level of sensitivity, in a country that's the most sensitive, you have to take slightly a different approach. You don't have to play the tournament. Don't show up. These are the rules they created, okay? You can't go and say, for example, like what you're saying to me, we're probably more on the same page on what you're saying. But this is Australia. This is their rules. if that's what they're doing, if you knew, I don't know the story if he knew or not. That's the part about the story. With him and Aaron Rodgers are kind of similar. By the way, a little bit of kudos to NFL for not doing anything to the guy. So that tells you, as much as Roger Goodell and NFL gets a lot of heat, good for them.
He's going to win the MVP.
Well, what I'm saying is, some of them are counting. I don't know if you've been following stories lately. They're saying Brady may win it. I think it's Rodgers as MVP, but they may give it to Brady. But if you think about how Goodell, this kind of validates maybe the NFL is doing a little bit better job than we thought they're doing than tennis, especially for Australia. Anyways.
Well, the next thing up is the French Open, and it's going to be the same thing again.
Oh,
there.
you didn't see the story that they said they may not let him play in the French Open?
They may not, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Wimbledon's going to be the same.
It's crazy to me.
You're saying that's the next major.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
next
there's
thing.
going to be
Djokovic.
things, because that's not till May.
Right.
So keep in mind, I think there's an event in Dubai in the next few months. There's a Miami Open in March.
It's the people,
So
though.
we'll see what happens with that.
It's on the people. It's on the people of Australia. It's on the people of France. It's on the people to say enough's enough. This is nonsense.
Just a quick comment too about his reputation. You know, like I mean, I follow the sport pretty closely. I know a lot of people who don't like him and who have kind of gotten that same feeling, like he's not a very likable guy. Whether that plays into this or not, and people are just out to get him.
I'm
I don't
cool
know.
with it. I'm just saying not as likable as Federer.
Yeah, maybe not. You know, Federer for a long time got real cocky. Remember, Federer started walking out with a vest that had like his initials on it, like he was the greatest. He's #1 on his shoes. You know, like he was.
He was, yeah, exactly.
He was, but there was a lot of arrogance there. And Djokovic has never done that. He's never called himself, you know, the greatest and worn #1 on his shoes and all that. I've seen him overturn calls that the umpire made in his opponent's favor because he saw it was clearly in when the umpire called it out.
Well, he was up
you know?
6-1 in that match.
But
So.
guys, this is bigger.
I mean, he's, you know.
This is bigger than Novak Djokovic. They made an example out of him to show the rest of the country who's in charge and show the rest of the world
They won't win long
who's
term.
in charge.
They won't win
But
long
this is the
term.
thing, Pat.
Yeah.
And this is. I was just out in Miami and I did my whole thing on my story, and it was like, here's the truth of the matter, man. Like, we all have to make a decision, even if you're on that team, quote unquote. If I want to go to a restaurant in New York City, do I really have to show a permission slip from the Democratic Party that I'm obedient enough to eat? Because let's just say that's what it is. That's what the Vax Pass is. It's a permission slip to the elites that I'm on board. May I please have a slice of pizza, please? I'm okay with the Democrats. Like, how can you be okay with this?
But again, here's what it goes back to. Jedediah Bila was sitting right here when she said, let them sink. I don't have a lot of money, but the little money that I have, I'm going to pick it up and leave. People like that are making a decision. And Gerard, you know, when you pick up a bad habit, how long does it take until you realize this bad habit is ruining your life?
10 years or so.
But watch what you just said. No, I'm actually being very serious with you. Think about it. We all have had a bad habit that got a hold of us. I had a bad habit that got a hold of us. Hold of me. How long does it take until you realize it's going to hurt you?
Well, how long do you realize that it's going to hurt you? But then after, the longer it goes, the longer it takes to fix it, man.
But how long until you realize there's a consequence to this bad habit?
There's a difference between realizing it and actually doing something about it, though.
Yeah,
You might
I'm asking-
realize it in
you
a
guys all
in a
just
month.
became scientists now.
It's
We're
the five-
asking
I would-
you basic
five-
questions.
Trust
10
the
years.
science.
5
We've been
to 10
saying it
years.
for all this time.
Yeah.
Why won't you
I
trust
got
the
an
science?
F in biology. That's why I struggle with
Hey,
it.
but just one other thing here. What if the other players, what if Nadal, instead of saying these are the rules you got to follow, what if Nadal had said, you know what, I'm not playing the Australian Open if they don't let Djokovic play?
Like
and then
that.
if it, like dominoes, other guys
That's
got
what I
back
thought would
FYI.
happen in the NBA.
Not happening.
And you know who did
I'm not
that?
gonna play either.
What a freaking
Then there's
point.
no tournament.
Yes,
No
yes.
tournament.
Great freaking point.
Then they would have to say, you know what, let the guy play, he's healthy.
I thought that would
you know who
happen in
did
the
that?
NBA.
But do you know who did that in the NBA?
Who?
Kevin Durant to
Yes.
Kyrie Irving.
Yes.
Did he stand with him?
He did. He says, I'm never going to ask him to do it.
Yeah.
I support my teammate.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant. And guess what? The NBA finally said, all right, let him play on the road.
Yeah, but the difference is he actually played and he's been dominating. He's been MVP type
Who
caliber
are you
season.
talking about?
Durant. Now he's out for a month though.
6 weeks. Yeah.
But to Seth's point, if Durant said, "Look, I'm going to stand with Kyrie, and if he can't play, I can't play." Now, if literally the league's potential MVP is saying, "I'm also not going to play," and half
They
the
have
players
power.
stand with
They
him,
have weight.
They have power.
People, this goes
But
to the
they love
American
basketball
people
too much. They're not going to try to get into the and if they're not
Look,
getting paid.
It applies everywhere. If we all stand up to tyranny together, then they can't push us around anymore. It's
true.
when everybody's compliant and everybody's feeling that pressure because 99% of people are going along with it. You stand out. When Djokovic stands up and stands against it, he stands out. He's the one that they can strike down.
Let me ask you a question.
Because he's by himself.
How many of you guys listening. Be honest.
Apes together strong.
No, hear me out. This is the part that I love, capitalism and competition. You have no idea how much I trust competition, okay? How many of you are thinking about, in 2022, family vacation, straight up, you're going to Australia? Anybody right now saying?
Nobody.
I'm so inspired.
Nobody.
You know
Zero.
what? You know
It's a great point.
Let's
Nobody's
go
going.
to
If
Sydney.
If the sharks and the
Well,
stingrays don't
if
get
you're-
to the government, will.
if you're
Competition works.
If
Competition
you're
works.
vaxxed, you might want to do
No,
that.
you're not going to go to Australia even if you're waxed. No one's outside, bro. Like, what am I going to do in Australia? The other day, I got a text from a guy on a cruise ship. He's on a cruise ship. There's 150 people on a cruise ship that fits 4,000. He's like, here's me having breakfast with 4 other people. Literally, he recorded the whole thing. Nobody. What are you going on a cruise ship for? To be alone or go to a freaking different place?
There's
a price to be paid.
There's your
for
next
this.
Babylon
Yes,
Bee
there is.
headline. There's not enough tourists to leave 5 stars.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.